What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? Welcome to the latest episode of Trade Gods. I am your host, Matty Kiwoom, and I'm joined by my fellow Trade God brethren, the morning man, the host of Wake and Take, the best damn morning show on planet Earth, Jason Allwine. What's going on, Jay?
Thanks, man. Thank you. Doing well. Ready to host the show with you. You know, it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to go live, but it's still nice. We still meet. We get the articles going for the people. You know, we give our buy and sell still every week. So, you know, we're connecting. You had me on the game plan. So, you know, I'm just happy to do a show with you, man. Happy to be doing Trade Gods. Feeling good.
I mean, listen, we talked about it on the game plan. We can't stay apart for over a week. I mean, that sounds insane. So what are we going to do? We're going to collab on other shows. We're going to put together articles that we collab on and videos that we put together and all this stuff because Trade Gods may be a bi-weekly show, but the content is going to come at you as consistently as humanly possible because we want to be there for our listeners. I mean, this is the thick of trade season. This is we are not quite at the top of the roller coaster ride when it comes to trade season, but we are starting to see that peak. So we want to be here to talk trades, and we got a great show lined up here tonight for all of our listeners. We got 3 trades that we're going to be breaking down. One, I will say off the top, involves one of the hosts, but you have to stay tuned to find out which because, you know, last episode, Jason had one of his trades. I just gave it away. It's my trade. I'm an idiot. Tried to hide it. Buried the lead. Good one there, dum-dum. Doesn't matter. We're going to talk about one of my trades because we got to talk our process to help you maybe with some of the tougher decisions to get through your process. And we also got 3 up, 3 down, 3 buys, 3 sells through the first 5 weeks of the season. So without further ado, let's get on into the first trade. Trade number 1, and I've hidden Jason because the blunders continue, folks. Here we go. First trade of the night. 14-team PPR Superflex Start 10. Team A is receiving Kenny Pickett, a 24 first and a 25 second. Team 2 is acquiring Kirk Cousins and a 2024 second. So you see this trade, basically Pickett and some assets for Kirk Cousins, a win now piece. Let's just look at it through the win now lens. How do you like this trade for the win now team?
Yeah, for the win now team, I love it. I would maybe have potentially tried to just do the Kirk for Kenny Pickett swap and not have to give up the first there. But given it's a win now team, that first is likely a late first. That second they're getting back is probably an early second, more than likely. So we can sort of cancel it out. I like this trade a decent bit. As we've talked about a couple times on the show, I do have Kenny Pickett in the TGIF, in the Trade Gods Invitational. And I mean, I don't know if Kirk Cousins is who I would trade Kenny Pickett for, but it at least make me think, of course, I'm trying to win now in my own damn league. And Kenny Pickett has not been doing good. Not necessarily all his fault. If you look at these metrics here, 32nd in protection rate, showing that the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is being terrible because he also has the 3rd most pressured throws. He has the 6th most interceptable passes. Right, it's just not very good across the board, but he still has some other good stuff. Right, he while still being under pressure a lot, he still has the 8th highest under pressure accuracy rating. He still has the 11th highest production premium, and George Pickens is playing fantastic football. So I do think things will get better for Kenny Pickett. However, you're talking about Kirk Cousins right now, who at one point in the season was the quarterback one and is throwing the ball a ridiculous amount of times, leading the league in pass attempts, second in pass yards. Just lost Justin Jefferson, but still, I assume he's going to be passing it the same, if not more, because they won't be able to get as ahead with Justin Jefferson. Not that they were really doing so currently, but still, I guess I like the trade. Metrics on good sides. I'm not necessarily looking to sell Kenny Pickett overall. Like, I think he's a hold right now, but if you're a win now team, Kirk Cousins is probably the perfect quarterback to kind of target with him.
Let me ask you one question when it comes to Kirk Cousins. Is any part of you weary on trying to acquire him in a win now situation due to this kind of growing buzz that he may be traded?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I definitely am a bit more hesitant to try to acquire Kirk Cousins right now. Obviously, it's always going to come down to the price. If you're still getting a really good quarterback for a good price, you can't complain, especially as here we're in a super flex 14-team league. I mean, high-value quarterbacks are hard to come by, and Kirk Cousins is up there. And even if he is traded, it's not like he's just going to fall off planet Earth. He is 35 years old, but we haven't seen really any signs of regression. And I'm assuming a team that would be trading for Kirk Cousins would be like the Jets, a team that is built around the quarterback and has some assets that would be needed. Will there be a little bit of a drop-off initially if he's traded? Sure, he's learning a new playbook, going to a new system, right? But he's still a really good quarterback at the end of the day. So I think you could still buy him. If anything, that might make him a little bit even cheaper. Is the situation as good as it would be on the Vikings if he's traded? No, but still, I think that you could probably get him for the right price and things would be okay even if he's moved.
And yeah, I think that is probably my takeaway from the potential of him being moved is what you talk about. The team they're getting him needs him. They're probably a good team. They're probably a team with at least a few weapons. They're not just going to be some crap bag team trading for a 35-year-old quarterback for no reason. So I think the likelihood of him being traded is low, just given the sport. Quarterbacks aren't usually dealt at the deadline. Then it's not like baseball where starting pitchers are so coveted at the deadline. That's not really what it is in football with quarterbacks. But like the teams that could really vie for his services, like the Jets, like you said, team we would like him on. Atlanta. I mean, listen, Arthur Smith isn't going to throw the ball as much, but those weapons are sure there. So those efficiency stats can certainly stick around. So I mean, I don't see him getting traded if I had to put my prediction hat on, but even with him getting traded, I still think he's worth buying into. Now, let me reveal this is the trade that I am involved in, and I am the Kirk Cousins side. What pushed this trade over the top for me is when I'm looking at the WARP chart. WARP is wins over replacement player. You can find that over at southharmonff.com. You can use your customized league to get the exact league format for WARP. Kirk Cousins is fourth in WARP. So he's the fourth hardest to replace out of the quarterback position. The quarterback position that is pretty flat in comparison to past years. And my other quarterback, Lamar Jackson, felt like a nice pairing going into the playoffs. I'm 5-0 in that league. You know, I have a strong squad. So the Kirk Cousins acquisition was, I think it was a big one for me. And what put it over the top for me was we were going to settle on basically Pickett in a first. He then wanted my 25 second, and I got a 24 second. So I was like, done. Because that is just another weapon, another bullet that I could fire at a piece this year. The odds of me keeping it to draft a rookie, even though I love the rookie class, is slim. Because at second round, we're already talking about players that don't have a significantly strong hit rate when we're talking mid-second round. So I'm going to go ahead and make the trade. So I'm happy I made the trade. Kenny Pickett timing wasn't the best because I traded him after the injury, where I think if I had waited until he was active in the game on Sunday, where I probably could have squeezed out more or given up a little bit less, added to the value that I was getting. So, I do think the timing could have been better, but overall, happy with the trade, and I'm glad that you think that it was a pretty smart trade at least. So that makes me feel a lot better. I just want to give a shout out to Anthony in the chat, Notorious J, Ruckus in the chat, Gooner Boy, and Slashy. What's up, everybody? Leave your trade questions. We will answer them at the end of the show. If we get a whole bunch of them, maybe we'll make it overtime sessions. We'll see how it goes. So let's get all of those trades in the chat. Let's go. And let's move on to trade number 2 that we're going to break down here tonight. This comes from a 14-team PPR 1 QB league, start 8. So we're starting a pretty shallow starting lineup. Team A has got Kirk Cousins, Brian Robinson, a 24 first, and a 24 third for Garrett Wilson, and a 24 third. Pretty interesting here, but which side would you want? Let's just give it a straight up. Let's pick a side here, Jay. Which side would you rather have?
I mean, I think I would rather have this Kirk, Brian Robinson, and a first side. I mean, an easy way to break it down is both Christian Kirk and Brian Robinson are averaging more points per game than Garrett Wilson right now. And you're also getting a first-round pick. The thirds cancel out. I know Garrett Wilson's a fantastic dynasty asset, but Christian Kirk's pretty good too. I mean, outside of week 1, he's been fantastic. 22 points, 15 points, 16 points, 14 points, still top 5 in slot snaps on one of the best offenses in the league. Brian Robinson establishing himself as the running back on the Commanders, running it a ton, doing well with it. Already had an over 25-point game this season, only in his second year. I mean, I like these 2 assets, and what's great about them is they're not sexy assets, meaning they're not that expensive. I mean, the stats that Christian Kirk and Brian Robinson are putting up are really, really decent, and because of their name, because there's someone else on the team that people like a little bit more, they're cheap. And so I think that, getting those 2 guys, especially in a start 8, you're probably going to be able to start both of them every single week. I like it. I like it a lot. And I mean, Garrett Wilson's really good. So, I mean, it's not like it's a complete wash to the other side, but I just think that these are really, really good assets to get. And you're also getting a first round pick.
Yeah, I think this is your quintessential fun trade that you can make in Dynasty that you just can't make in redraft. That's the reason why we love Dynasty formats, because it opens the possibilities up. Because I think a year from now, we could be looking at this and being like, Garrett Wilson, having him on your roster is just a game changer. Aaron Rodgers is back, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Christian Kirk's good. He's our wide receiver too. Brian Robinson's not even a starter anymore. The first was late, blah, 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 blah. I think that's that. But in the win now mode, which I have to imagine the Christian Kirk side is kind of in a win now mode. Anytime you're acquiring an older receiver, not older, but older than Garrett Wilson, and a running back that probably won't have the longest of careers if you just kind of take into the factors of his draft capital and whatnot. But it's getting that extra first is a home run. I don't expect the win now team to hold that first, but it's another piece. I mean, you can get. And the only reason this trade makes any sense, this does not make sense in redraft, is because what we have here is a guy who was relying on Garrett Wilson fall in the face because, Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Maybe the team's not firing. Garrett Wilson's going to be a part of a lot of bust teams this year for sure, given his DC. But in Dynasty, you're probably still, 2-3 or 1-4 or 0-5 trading away or trading for Garrett Wilson. But yeah, this is the trade that I love to make. But if I'm picking sides, I am absolutely smashing the side of Christian Kirk. And for me, the Dynasty part of it, again, it's the round 1 that truly makes it. If you take away all the picks and it was Christian Kirk and Brian Robinson, I would call it a straight C, maybe even lean Garrett Wilson. But getting the first on top of it is pretty great. So we both are on the same side here. Christian Kirk with a home run play. But again, in start 8, this deep of a probably league, but not starting lineup, getting Garrett Wilson is a good process if you don't fancy yourself a playoff contender. So I do commend making the tough move here as we head into week 6. But before we talk about the third and final trade for tonight, let's hear about Rival Fantasy.
This episode is brought to you by Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy, the coolest fantasy platform not enough people know about, but they will once I'm done, baby, because they're always innovating. They just rolled out seasonal leagues. We set them up for patrons, for our listeners, and they funded over $1,000 in payouts. That's what Rival's all about. They're always innovating. They already had the fantasy book where you can take overs and unders, stack them up, multiply your payout, but then they added challenges so you can set your own lines and put them out there for the community. And then you can browse the community's lines and say, hey, this guy's crazy. I'm going to take the other side. It's cool. And they have fantasy bingo. Rival Fantasy is reminding me how much fun I can have with fantasy football, and use that promo code PLAYER. The promo code is PLAYER. They give you a $100 instant deposit match plus $25 plus a free play. That promo code is PLAYER for up to $125 in deposit bonus and a free play. You can't beat it.
Welcome back to Trade Gods. We are breaking down 3 trades across the fantasy verse, and the third and final trade on tonight's show comes from the TGIF, the Trade God Invitational League. Shout out to them boys in the league. It's heating up. It's a lot of fun. Trades are happening so frequently. I legitimately missed Jason making a monumental trade, which he brought aboard Justin Fields. I had no idea until I was looking at his roster today. And I was like, Justin Fields, am I in the right league? I looked through my 157 leagues. I'm like, yeah, this is TGIF. What? And I had to scroll up. That's how active it is, and that's how fun it's been.
It's a good league. It's a good league.
It's a lot of fun. Me and you, I got to say, 1-2 punch in the points 4 column. Let's go, baby. Fuck with us. Here we go. 14-team PPR Superflex, 1.75 tight end premium, start 10. I'm going to pose this question to you, Jason. I'm going to pose it very specifically because there was a particular rule, right, that we abided by just a few months ago here in the offseason. If you've been rocking with Trade Gods, you know what that rule is. It is called this, and I'm not lying. On the streets, they're calling it the J Football Wine rule, the Jason Allwine rule here. This is his rule. So the rule is, the only way I'm trading Jamar Chase is if I get Justin Jefferson plus, and the only way I'm trading Justin Jefferson is I get Jamar Chase plus. Here we see Jamar Chase traded, not involving Justin Jefferson, but involving A.J. Brown plus. A.J. Brown, a 25 first and a 25 second for Jamar Chase. Does this satisfy the new and improved J Football Wine rule, or is it what it has always been?
I'm not going to lie. When I saw this trade, because full disclosure, this trade came in last week before Jamar Chase's monster performance.
This is before the monster performance, correct. Good call.
And it was after A.J. Brown's 38-point game. And so at this time, Jamar Chase was not playing well. The Bengals were not looking good. We didn't know how healthy Joe Burrow was. And so I honestly didn't hate it. I wasn't happy. I would still rather take the Jamar Chase side. And now, unfortunately, after Jamar Chase's big game, I'm right back on it. I don't care that A.J. Brown has been playing so well. Jamar Chase this last week. Basically, every time he caught the ball, it was either a first down or a touchdown. Like, you don't ever see performances like that. He finishes the day with 15 receptions off of 19 targets, 192 yards, and 52 fantasy points because he scored 3 touchdowns. He's already done that 2 times in his career. I posted about this on Twitter. Go follow us on Twitter. We do a stat of the day. Jamar Chase in his career has already had 2 games with 10 receptions, 150 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The only other wide receiver in NFL history to have more is Jerry Rice, who only did that 3 times in his 20-year career. We are talking about a very, very historic wide receiver when we talk about Jamar Chase. And so I need so much when I'm trading him. And A.J. Brown, while putting up monster numbers, 38.5 points 2 weeks ago, 18 points this week, 22 points 2 weeks ago, leading in all sorts of categories, establishing himself as a true alpha, making Devontae Smith look bad. But still, it's just not enough for me. It's just not enough for me. Maybe if these were 24 picks, I could see it being a little bit closer. But I legit, the gap between A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase is A.J. Brown sized at least.
So the rule is what we thought it was. You still got to come correct if you're going to try to get Jamar Chase off of Jason Allwine. Here's what I'm going to say about A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is cementing himself in that secondary wide receiver tier that I believe him and CD Lamb safely occupy. Because when you look at his yards per route run, top 10. He's 9th in fantasy points per game, but he's 4th in expected fantasy points per game. So there is some still positive regression to the mean potentially happening. You talked about all of the stats that he leads the league in, or he's amongst the top in the league. But I also want to say this. He's 3rd in the NFL in unrealized air yards. And that metric records air yards that were not completed. Air yards that have been completed a year ago with Jalen Hurts. And so if Jalen Hurts, and I do believe it's more of an when as opposed to if, I think Jalen Hurts continues to get warm, he completes some of those passes. I think A.J. Brown is in a spot where he is going to truly compete for a top 3 to 5 points per game mark here. Having said that, these 25 picks completely throw it off to me. There is an asset that I probably there's probably not assets that I value less right now than 25 picks. And I know that might be blasphemous for some. I don't like betting too much on the future. Trying to predict the future is incredibly hard. That's why we're all not millionaires for gambling and lottery and all that stuff. Predicting the future is damn near impossible. And you're asking me to trade things that I know, stats that I know, players that I can see every Sunday for assets that I can't truly cash in on, not next year, but the year after. Now, if this was a 24 first and 25 or 24 second, it is razor thin for me.
Yeah.
I cross the line on the J Football Wine rule. But here, given that they're 25 firsts, it doesn't do it for me. Doesn't do it for me. And when I look at it, it's just not enough for me to trade you a guy like Jamar Chase. We've seen the flashes. The consistency is coming. Consistency comes with refining your craft, something that we can only expect to happen more and more as he gets it. This is still his 3rd year, people. It's only his 3rd year in the NFL.
Oh, my God.
Well, I think we are truly seeing potentially the golden age of wide receivers, and I do like A.J. Brown. But for me, whether I win now or win later, give me the Jamar Chase side. Crazy to say, but give me the Jamar Chase side. I am seeing some comments come in the chat. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to everyone that's rocking with us. We're going to get to your questions. You're going to stick around to get those things answered. But next, we are going to go into America's favorite segment. Of course, I'm talking about
It's time to buy and sell.
we got 3 buys and 3 sells this week. Jason, I'm going to kick it to you because you cheated a little bit here.
I did.
I mean, you are trade god. You get to make up the rules. It is your damn show. You didn't just have 1 buy here to get us popping. You got 2. You're saying everyone out there listening, go buy the hurt that is, the IR studs, Justin Jefferson and Achane.
Yeah, and I guess we could throw Anthony Richardson into this too, as I believe that happened after we kind of decided on these buys and sells. But basically, I wanted to just lump these guys together because it's a theory thing. You're never able to acquire Justin Jefferson ever in your life. Yep. And you have a chance now. And I really just wanted to bring this up because I wanted to point out really that you need to do it now. You don't want to do it next week. You damn sure don't want to do it 2 weeks from now. You damn sure don't want to do it 3 weeks from now. And you most definitely damn don't want to do it 4 weeks from now when they're about to return from IR. This is it, right? The closer they get to their return, not only the more expensive they get, but also just the less obtainable in general. Right now, there's a hole on the league manager's roster left by Achane, left by Anthony Richardson, left by Justin Jefferson. Come Sunday, they're going to play their first game without them. And they're probably going to fill that hole, and they're probably going to end up fine and win their game, right? And then they're going to be like, I will be fine without Justin Jefferson. I will be fine without Achane. I will be fine without Anthony Richardson. So you've got to do this now, and you've still got to pay exactly what the price was last week. I don't care that you're not having them for the next few weeks. The price hasn't changed. They've just become more obtainable.
I love that analysis, Jason, because it's something that win now players can kind of decide whether they want to harp on it. And same thing with teams that are looking for the future. But the thesis is the same: is that these opportunities to buy into players that are just virtually damn near impossible to trade for, even they have to come when they're the one that comes to mind, which just happened recently, is Jonathan Taylor. Let's learn some lessons from the Jonathan Taylor market here. I'm sure in most of our leagues, he was obtainable going into opening day, and as every day or every week that you waited, it became that much harder and harder for you to trade for him. And then, of course, he left the door maybe a smidge open because he didn't play a whole lot on his return last week, week 5, but all it takes is one. All it takes is that Zach Moss usage to go ahead and get it done. And what you can't have happen is what probably happened through a number of our leagues, right, Jason? Like the team that drafted Jonathan Taylor was expecting to lose some games, but maybe they stumbled on Zach Moss, and they're actually, 3-2. They're actually 4-1, and now they're saying, "Oh, thank God I didn't trade away Jonathan Taylor when I was trying to get Antonio Gibson and Javonte Williams. Thank God I didn't trade away, Jonathan Taylor when I was trying to get back, Garrett Wilson and something. These players can get lucky. These situations do have a bit of luck to them. So when you wait, you kind of bet on someone else's bad luck, where that's not always a good bet. So if you have a chance to sneak into a little bit of Justin Jefferson's shares or Devon Achane shares, let's do it. Let's do it now. Take our lumps over these next 4 weeks and then cash in, because those opportunities don't come around often in Dynasty football. My buy is another opportunity, maybe not as strong of a window in terms of you're never going to be able to buy this guy, but this is a player that became the consensus 103 in single quarterback rookie drafts, and not much later than the let's call it 105, 106 in our Superflex. This is a stud, Jason. See, there's so much I think about you, Jay. He just comes out. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He has not played well for fantasy football purposes on the Seattle Seahawks. But the reason why I'm buying is kind of what you said when it comes to Justin Jefferson and Devon Achane. The price may not have crashed on Jackson, but it might have come down enough where the opportunity to buy into a player that we were kind of expecting to be the long play anyway. So even if I am a win now contender in Dynasty, I'm trying to get in on Jackson Smith now, and then you have the opportunity to flip it. If he has some spike weeks, you have an opportunity to just have a really good prospect to kind of let marinate on the bench. And I won't lie to you, there's a whole lot of metrics when you look on his performance profile that aren't all that encouraging. But what I will say, he is 15th in slot snaps, so he is out there for the Seahawks. Seahawks do throw the ball a ton, and he's getting a lot of target situation. He's just not getting the volume yet from Geno Smith. But if I would have told you this after the wrist injury, that we would be getting Jackson, let's say his first game was the first game after the bye, after that wrist injury, people would be head over heels for him going into week 6. Yeah. But he plays through the injuries, a savage. He plays pretty much the entire season, and he heads into the bye. What are we doing here? The breakout potential is still on the table for 2023 Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I am looking to buy Jackson Smith now, because all it takes is one spike week, one game where everyone goes, this is the guy that we thought we were getting at 7 for 120 and a touch.
Yep.
Another one thing I will add to about this offense, it's not like he's losing out to Tyler Lockett. It's just not going his way. Tyler Lockett isn't devouring targets. DK Metcalf isn't conquering targets. It's pretty widespread. So that tells me that the offense is trying to get to the guy that's open. And I think that as they get going, they're going to scheme that guy to be JSN. So I want JSN now before it's too late. Jason, anything you got on the rookie?
I've actually got, I would actually like to stick on this for a second. I mean, as you know, I've been talking about JSN for a long time. He was my number 1 rookie going into this, pretty much even over Bijan Robinson, just because I'm a Michigan fan. I've been watching JSN, on Ohio State. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for him to come to the NFL. And I like the landing spot too. You mentioned it only takes one game, but it also only takes one injury, right? I mean, you bring up that it's being spread around evenly, but imagine one of those pieces of the pie goes away, right? I mean, and then it's right back to Jackson Smith and Jigba. We're remembering, and he's getting the volume, right? But I also want to point out too, our good friend of the show, Cody Carpentier, one of the executives. He posted one of these tweets last week on the little Twitter, and it's a good one. As we all know, Jackson Smith and Jigba's best comparable is Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's who Cody pinned him to. That's who a lot of people are. It makes a lot of sense given the type of receivers they are. Jackson Smith and Jigba right now is wide receiver 89 through games 1 through 4. He's had 12 receptions for 62 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown in his first 4 games, his rookie season, also only had 12 receptions. And then he just basically went on to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown's usage his rookie season. You know, from weeks 5 through 10, he became the wide receiver 60. But then from weeks 11 to 17, Amon-Ra St. Brown was the wide receiver 2. He won people leagues. We'll remember that stretch where he was 55 for 71, 583 yards, 5 touchdowns. His snap share was up there every single week. Granted, he didn't have the competition that Jackson Smith and Jigba does, but still, I think that it is on the table for Jackson Smith and Jigba to win leagues this year. And the fact that you can still get him now, especially after all the talk all offseason about how he's not going to be a good redraft asset because of how many mouths there are to feed in the Seahawks, and yet people are still disappointed for some reason, go buy him. For real. Definitely go get some JSN.
Unfortunately, in my home league, I've been sending out little snipe offers each and every week, and they just keep getting declined because the guy who does roster him in this league, unfortunately, is a contending team who has the luxury of putting him on the bench and waiting to see. So that is the worst case scenario if you're trying to buy JSN. The next guy, and I got to say, Jason, you have been on brand tonight. You had texted me that you were gearing up for a legendary episode, and you were freaking on to something because you are so on brand today. We got the J football wine rule making a reappearance. But we talk about both sides of that. We're talking about all the J favorites. Achane is a favorite. And the Slim Reaper Devontae Smith is a buy. So why should everybody be buying the Slim Reaper?
Yeah, I mean, really just because it's a buying opportunity for a really good wide receiver on one of the best offenses in the league. Not overthinking it. Last week, 1.6 points, only 1 reception. Not good. 3 weeks ago, only 4 receptions for 28 yards, 6.8 points. So he's had some stinkers this season. But the other 3 weeks have been pretty good. 18 points, 28 points, 15 points. Right now, he's averaging 12.8 points per game, which is not that bad considering he only averaged 15 last year. I think things are still going to be good. He's still up there. He's running 100% of the routes right now. He's 10th in the league in routes run in general. And last season, it didn't really start to click until towards the end of the year. They're making the playoff push. You've already mentioned that Jalen Hurts, you believe, will start to heat up and get back to, end of season Jalen Hurts that we saw last year. And I tend to agree as well. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. And I want any piece of this offense. And I still do believe that Devontae Smith is one of the best wide receivers in the league. And the fact that there is such a big alpha on the other side of the field in A.J. Brown, sure, that hurts him. Sure, there's not going to be some games for him. But it also helps him in some games, right, where Devontae Smith is the open receiver because they have to lock on to A.J. Brown, because they have to maybe cover Dallas Goedert. And we've seen that time and time again. We've already seen it this season where Devontae Smith the first 2 weeks was leading A.J. Brown in receptions, leading him in targets, leading him in yards, leading him in fantasy points. Now it's completely flipped. And it's going to go back and forth like it did last year. There's going to be Devontae Smith games. There's going to be A.J. Brown games. There's going to be Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown games. We just saw an A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert game, a name that we'll probably be talking about shortly. But the fact that A.J. Brown is on fire right now, truly establishing himself as the alpha and probably the number 3 wide receiver in Dynasty now, it's cooled down a bit for the Devontae Smith fans. And even myself, I'm like, maybe like I've come to like A.J. Brown a lot more than I have, right? As you know, I've talked about him being a sell most of the time on this show, but he continues to perform time and time again. And I think he will continue to, but I still do think that Devontae Smith will as well. I mean, he's the only wide receiver in the past 20 years to win a Heisman. I mean, that means something.
it definitely means something. I mean, to discount that type of accolade and that type of prospect seems a bit silly.
Yeah.
Man, I as much as I kind of want to push back on this because he hasn't really been a consistent guy, and that is something I truly don't like in
Yeah.
fantasy is the volatility. So I don't know if I'm gonna try to buy. I'll definitely go shopping though.
Okay.
I'll say
That's a
this,
good
and
way
I
to
know
play it.
that might be a cop out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, everyone listening, it might be a cop out, but I'll kick the tires on Devontae.
Yeah,
But I'm not
that's fair.
paying 100% of the value. I'm not gonna pay up at all. But yeah, some of his metrics are, they're encouraging. I will say that, being seventh in deep targets, he's got a snap share that's amongst the tops of the league. So he's always in the field. He's running a ton of routes. And he's still looking like a really good player. When you look at his WARP, wins over replacement player, he's, right now at wide receiver 21, which is on par with running back 12 and 13, which is Kenneth Walker and Derrick Henry.
There you go.
So if you can get him for a running back of the, let's call it Joe, I still kind of like that, like the Aaron Jones range. If you could buy into him with Jerome Ford, something like that, lock it in, lock and loaded. But if I have to pay 100%, he's more of a hold, I'd say, for me, because I do think he's good. But God, do I hate that volatility. I do not like that. I just don't like that.
I don't know. I mean, like, I wish I had the game log. Let me see if, usually my stream messes up when I Google, but let's see.
I got it. I got it here. 17-7, 23-1, 6.8.
No, last year, like how many
106.
games? Oh yeah, I'm glitching as I tried to do it. How many games under 10 points last year did he have? I think I can do it. We're here. Under 10 points, 2022. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 if you count the playoffs. So we've already had 2. So 3 more games under 10 points, and then we're talking about the rest of them being around 15, couple 30-pointers in there.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair analysis. I do think that the pattern might be similar to last year.
Yeah.
I was tooting the horn of potential Jalen Hurts continuing to get better, which I brought up for AJ Brown, so I have to factor across the board for both the receivers. But yeah, I think you're swaying me a little bit. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna send out a couple more feelers for the Slim Reaper. Let's move on to sells. First sell, I will take the reins here because one, I want to call a spade a spade. Secondly, let's stick to the same team, the Philadelphia Eagles, and why you should sell Dallas Goedert. He's coming off his best game of the season, and that is precisely why I think now is the time to jump off Dallas Goedert in terms of your fantasy exposure and jump into another tight end and get something else on top of that. Mm-hmm. Because I think what a lot of leagues are going to be feeling right now is, he's back, baby. Dallas Goedert is back. And I would let them believe that he's back, because I think that the truth is that the tight end landscape is so bad. The flat mark of replacement level tight ends it gets really flat after the top 5. And when even factoring in a good week last week, he's tight end 13. That's comparable to guys like Alvin Kamara. Mm-hmm. I'd rather take a tight end like, let's call it Dalton Schultz and Alvin Kamara. Give that to me all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Give me even like a Zach Ertz and an Aaron Jones. This is the level of trade I think that's out there for folks, given the big week. And I'm willing to take it because I think there's going to be a lot of dud weeks coming up for Mr. Dallas Goedert. And like I said, just a few months ago, we're looking at Dallas Goedert as, is he part of that group of tight end that we don't have to worry about? We have Kelsey, we have Andrews, we have Hawkinson, now we have Sam Laporta. Even Kittle disappears more than we would like out of our tight ends. Dallas Goedert was knocking right on that door, and now we're looking back at it, and it's like, wow, he probably lost teams a few weeks, considering this was his week 1 through 4 output: 0 points, 8.2, 9.1, 4.5, never finishing higher than tight end 13. Then he has a smash week
Yeah.
Cha-ching, let me cash in on Dallas Goedert on a fan favorite. Get me a couple of assets. Win now, especially. Win now. I'm absolutely looking to do that. If you're looking to rebuild, this is your chance to sell Dallas Goedert for maybe Kyle Pitts. And we talked about that a couple, last show.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I'm cashing in on Dallas Goedert. Any thoughts on DG before we get to your first sell?
And I just want to bring up another classic trade gods rule. And this is really just navigating the tight end market. And we've discussed this with tight end, and especially a tight end like Dallas Goedert. For me, and I think that you've agreed when we discussed this the first time, you either want to use him to take a seat at the Kyle Pitts table, take a seat at the Mark Andrews table, take a seat at the TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce table. Or you want to go all the way down and see what you could get added on to Jelani Woods. What can I get on to Trey McBride? Right?
Yeah.
Like what Michael Mayer, I think, would
Jonnu Smith.
Like any bottom of the barrel tight end with some ceiling. Or Jonnu Smith, right? Who's producing well. You're a win now and you still want to throw a tight end into your lineup, right? You can get Jonnu Smith in a ton. Or you want to go the young route, right? Just, I'll punt for a couple years. I'll get Michael Mayer and a really nice throw in, And so I think that you can do that, and I think you should do that with Dallas Goedert. As I bring up Devontae Smith as a buy, I have to really personally believe that it's the wide receivers with Goedert sprinkled in every once in a while. But with a position like tight end, I would much rather just be in tight end hell than have a stud tight end put me in hell with a 3-point performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, what if you could tear down from Dallas Goedert, get into Dalton Kincaid, and on top of it, throw in let's call it Rashad White, and you're throwing a third?
Yeah.
Let's go. I mean, this is the type of trades we're looking at. Absolutely. So, Jason, we're on the same page once again. Let's hear your next sell.
This one, and we actually, I teased our buys and sells on Instagram to see if we could have anyone come over, and this one got some heat. I'm selling Keenan Allen. It's hard to do. But you got to remember he's 31 years old. You've got to remember he has an injury history. And you've also got to remember that Austin Eckler hasn't been out there the last few weeks taking some receptions away. I mean, Austin Eckler last year had 107 receptions for 722 receiving yards. That's a ridiculous amount. A ridiculous amount. And Keenan Allen this year has been spectacular. No other way to put it. 14 points, 31 points, 45 points, 12 points. You look at every single efficiency metric, 9th in target separation at 31 years old, 7th in EPA, 2nd in best ball points, 4th in fantasy points per route run. What a good football player. And when a guy is performing this well, I hate doing it. I hate saying it. But you've got to sell him, especially with how much usage he's getting. A 31% target share, 100% route participation. I bring up the injury history and I bring up the age again. I mean, he only played 10 games last year. He played 16 games the year before that, 14, 16, 15, 16. So, a good little stretch, but then 8. Right? He's been injured before. It could happen again. The Chargers seem to always be cursed. Right? So I don't know. And even if he doesn't, like I said, Austin Eckler's going to start taking some targets away. Quentin Johnson is apparently not good at football, but he's still going to get, I think, used a little bit more. I think they're going to use this bye week to at least try to install a couple plays for him and see how it goes. Jalen Guyton, while not a good football player, he still gets those schemed deep targets. He's been on IR. He'll probably come back. So I don't think we're going to see another 45-point game. I'll put it like that. I think you could sell him while people are still seeing that much of a ceiling before Austin Eckler returns, before he potentially gets injured, before he gets less usage, before he loses the ceiling, before another receiver on the team starts to break out. I just think that there's enough question marks out there that this is probably the top of the market.
Top of the market play is a favorite of trade gods. I mean, we bring it up every week in one way, shape, or form that players aren't always going to reach this pinnacle. And when they do, it's smart process to trade. But man, sometimes I do get drunk with the thrills and throes of the fantasy year. And if I find myself 4-1, 3-2, if I find myself a contender, trading away a guy like Keenan Allen is going to feel damn near impossible. Right now, he's as valuable as a team with Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. He's been more valuable than the best running backs outside of Christian McCaffrey. So the selling point to me starts at a Justin Jefferson. It starts at a Stephon Diggs plus. I mean, it starts as astronomically high as it can get. And for me, I don't think I'm getting that. Although, like you said, the process makes sense. And if I'm a team that is somehow not a contender with Keenan Allen, you have to sell. You have to. You cannot think this through. You cannot risk injury. You got to sell a guy like this at the pinnacle because this is a guy that could bring in now multiple picks, some prospects, JSN, Dalton Kincaid. I mean, there's a world where a team that is contending to delusional about contending, we'll call it, that has Kendre Miller, JSN, Dalton Kincaid, and we'll throw all three of those pieces at you for Keenan Allen. Yeah, and those situations for your rebuild teams, your teams that aren't going to win in 2023, those are the returns you got to cash in on. But if you're winning, man, it is super, super tough to sell, even at the top of the market, which, of course, is a favorite of the trade gods. My sell is another old wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. The principle of selling DeAndre Hopkins is damn near identical to that of Dallas Goedert. He's been struggling 4 weeks in. He has a massive game against a defense that just basically gives away wide receiver one games like they're damn M&Ms on Halloween. And when you look at his metrics, they're not terrible, but they don't suggest to me any type of dominant wide receiver that we've known in the past. The offense doesn't absolutely give me zero confidence that he's going to produce at any type of regular efficiency or become someone that is who I thought he could be when I drafted him in the 5th and 6th round. And then when you look at the trade finder, which, we plug this all the time, but the trade finder at PlayerProfiler.com, which you can now get the all-in package for a discounted price of $85. Isn't that right, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
Get the all-in package. You get the DFS Dominator. That the DFS tools will get you your money back. It's that good.
Yeah.
Dynasty Dominator, fantastic. It has all these tools, rankings. I mean, come on. Player Profiler here. We're talking about top-notch stuff here. And if you go to the Player Profiler Trade Finder after you become an all-in member, you can look up trades based on certain players. And kind of see what other markets look like. And when you look at the DeAndre Hopkins market, all of these have happened within the window of which the breakout game happened. So within the last, call it 3 days since Sunday. DeAndre Hopkins, this is for a rebuilder. This is what you can get in a 12-team league. You can get Rashad Bateman, I know, but Treylon Burks in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And if that was on the table a few months ago, we would have been jumping all over it. So that's an example of why you should sell if you're rebuilding. If you're contending, this is another trade that I found in a 12-team league on the Trade Finder. Zamir White and DeAndre Hopkins for Mark Andrews.
Wow.
Now, I'm assuming Team B in this trade is either regretting it or isn't great at fantasy football. Needless to say, they do not subscribe to the all-in package at Player Profiler. They do not listen to Wake and Take every morning, Trade Gods every other Wednesday, and the Game Plan every Saturday. That's safe. But the fact that that's obtainable after a kind of cold stretch of Mark Andrews and a hot stretch or a hot game for DeAndre Hopkins says a whole lot. Now, I'm seeing these questions pile up in the chat. Stick around. We did not forget about you, but we're going to go ahead here. Jason, let's take the show part of this, the podcast part of this show on home. What do you got to say about DeAndre Hopkins?
107th in route win rate.
Oof, woof. Well,
I mean, like, what? That's so bad. And so his best game of the season comes when Treylon Burks is out, right? And for some reason, Ryan Tannehill was fine. But it's an easy sell. I'll pat myself on the back. I'll do a little victory lap just because I haven't been able to. I had 2 orphans this offseason, Matty Kiwoom.
okay.
Both of them somehow had DeAndre Hopkins on them for some reason. And both of them, I traded 1-for-1 for Brock Purdy.
Nice. Cash in, cha-ching. Look
Right?
at that top 12 wide receiver, a top 12 quarterback. You know, we're talking about a real dynasty quarterback asset. So
Yeah.
congrats. Pat yourself
Dude,
on
I
that
know.
back. You must check out shows like Wake and Take every morning, Game Plan every Saturday, Trade Gods every other Wednesday, Dynasty Warzone each and every week. You know, hosted by Jerry Sinclair and a fan of the show, a friend of the show, Memphis Young. Shout out to the Dynasty Warzone. Make sure you're checking out the Dynasty Warzone also here at the Player Profiler Network. I think it sounds like you do check those out, my friend.
I do. I would be nowhere without the Player Profiler all-in package.
Let's go. That's going to wrap up today's show. Like I said, stick around. We got some questions to answer. We will stay live for each one of you, but all the podcast listeners, that's going to be a wrap dizzle on the latest episode of Trade Gods. Jason, go ahead. The floor is yours. Plug everything.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, Wake and Take, 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Trade Gods every other Wednesday, but you can catch our article every other week that we're not live. That drops on Saturday, along with a nice little video element produced by the fantastic Brad Sapienza.
He's awesome.
Fantastic work. If you see those short videos, he does a lot of those edits, and he does some really, really great stuff. Don't know if he listens, but giving him a little shout out there. And then make sure you just follow all the Player Profiler social media platforms. Player Profiler on TikTok, Profiler NFL also on TikTok, Roto Underworld on Twitter, Profiler_NFL also on Twitter, Roto Underworld on Instagram, Player Profiler on Facebook. We're everywhere. And I'm running those pages right now, along with some help of some great friends as well, Tether Football and Brendan Llewellyn. They're doing some great stuff for us as well. So thankful to their help and everyone else stepping up in the Player Profile community. Too many people to name, as this place is a rocket ship. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead.
No, massive shout out to you and everyone helping out. The social media game this season has been it's been on fire. It's been absolutely awesome follows. So make sure you're checking all that stuff out. Subscribe to the Player Profile YouTube channel if you're not already. Like this video, leave a question in the comments. We do go back and look for those questions. So if you got trade questions post-show, drop them in the comments, and we will make sure to answer them for you. You can follow me on X, Matty Kiwoom. Like Jason said, we got a whole bunch. We got our articles coming out every other week that we are not going live with Trade Gods, but Trade Gods, thank you for rocking with us, is every other Wednesday. We are sharing with Dynasty Roundtable, another great show here on the network. Game Plan each and every Saturday. Got the Future Cast with Theo Greminger as we dive into the 2024 class. We are cooking up a new episode, so be on the lookout for one of those. And if you just can't get enough of me, head on over to the patreon.com/executives, me and Cody's Carpentiers Patreon. You can check us out there. But yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's show. He's Jason Allwine. I'm Matty Kiwoom. We are the Trade Gods, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All-In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.
You're listening to The Trade Gods.
What up, what up? It's the Trade Gods Overtime Edition. We are answering all the questions right here in the chat. Let's just get it started. Jason, first one. Yo, Matty, how you dealing with the Patriots being a laughing stock dumpster fire? I never thought I would see the day this finally happened. Well, Slashy, doesn't feel good. I do believe they are a terrible football team. I now am fully on the blow it up, go after one of these top end quarterbacks, and let's get a fresh start point of view. But let's just say I've been to more parades than fans have seen their team win playoff games in my lifetime. So all good runs come to an end. Jason, I know you're a Tom Brady fan.
Yep.
How do you feel about the demise of the Patriots?
I mean, it's just kind of hard to watch just in general. I don't like seeing dynasties collapse in such a way, and I still do have a great deal of respect for Bill Belichick. So to watch him become a laughing stock, I do feel is a little unfair and disrespectful to the greatness that he has not only brought to the game, but also the community of New England. So I don't really like how he's being treated. To be completely honest, I know he's a terrible general manager, but he's still a fantastic football mind and has done so much for the game of football, really attacking offenses. He held the Los Angeles Rams, one of the greatest offenses that we had seen, to 3 points in the Super Bowl, right? They were leading the league. So, I mean, just good guy. Anyway, Slash, I will say this. Being a Patriots fan and watching this cannot be as bad as dragging your nutsack through a field of thorns while crows peck at your bare skin in 125-degree heat while in the Sahara Desert, which, judging by your profile picture and your username, might be what you're having to do for a new Sonic Truth episode, as I saw on the Twitter last night. I think that might have been you.
Shout out to you, Slash. That was it comes to the end. And Jason, you're on crack. Bill Belichick is done and dusted. The game has passed him by in all facets. Team building, winning on the field. He's done. Let's move on to the next one from Gooner Boy. Gooner Boy traded Kyron Williams and Jordan Addison for Kelsey and Damian Pierce in redraft. You love it, or you don't love it?
I mean, yeah. Getting Kelsey for anything is a fantastic move, especially in redraft. So, yeah, great job. Great job.
I don't love Damian Pierce, but the Podfather does, and I do love me some Travis Kelsey. So getting him in redraft is an absolutely great process. So good on you, boy. Ruckus, he traded Gabe Davis for Ramondre. He's got James Cook, Zach Moss, Najee, Pirine, and Hubbard, but he's stacked at wide receiver. So you like the swap for Ruckus?
Yeah, I think I do. I know that the prospects for Ramondre Stevenson are not stacking up. He's looking like Rafradre. But if you're stacked at wide receiver, I don't mind taking a boomer bust wide receiver that Gabe Davis is. I mean, you're never really comfortable starting him, especially if you're stacked at wide receiver. You might never feel comfortable starting Ramondre Stevenson either, but the ceiling that we saw last season is still technically there. So I don't know. I don't hate it at all.
I get the process. I'm with you on the process, Ruckus, for sure. But the targets, I think you could have looked elsewhere and got something better. Isaiah Pacheco, Jerome Ford would be two players I'd rather have than Ramondre. Patriots suck, and Ramondre is absolutely hurt from a lot of that. So I think I would look elsewhere if you can. If you made the trade, like I said, I get the process. But if you haven't, try to see if you can get one of those other targets. Because also, when we look at the upcoming 3-game schedule for Isaiah Pacheco, oh, baby, do we love what we see. 2 Broncos and a Chargers in the middle. Let's effing go. Rob's in the chat. He's got a question. He's got Jefferson on IR now. He has been approached by a couple teams inquiring if he will part ways. So what is your fair value? What are you taking for Justin Jefferson? Is the answer as simple as the Jason Allwine rule?
I do think right now with Justin Jefferson, you can sway from the Jamar Chase rule because it's not possible. I mean, you're not going to be getting Jamar Chase even 1-for-1. If you somehow can get that, definitely do it. But I'm still staying within that redraft tier. Cooper Kupp plus, Stephon Diggs plus, Tyreek Hill. I would want probably an addition to Tyreek Hill. At least would think about 1-for-1 right now, depending on team situation. But basically what I'm saying is you still need a very, very, very elite option with something on top. For example, in the TGIF, I may have sent out Keenan Allen plus for some Justin Jefferson. It's still sitting out there.
It's not a no. It's not a no.
It's not a no. It's not a yes. It hasn't been a no yet. But to basically kind of put you in the ballpark of where I would even start negotiations as someone trying to acquire him is I'm still trying to come correct. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, you still basically got to treat it like he is healthy.
In redraft, I'm selling for Stephon Diggs. I'm selling for even Puka Nacua plus Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, because you got to win now when it comes to those redraft leagues. Dynasty, I'm not trading him. I'm just not trading him. I'm not going to do it. I don't care. I will wait and see. So there's, like Jason said, it's the Allwine rule for me, Rob, in Dynasty. I'm not trading you, Jefferson, unless you're giving me Chase. And that just isn't probably on the table. So Dynasty, he's a stronghold. But value for me in redraft, any of those top guys, if you can swap them out to get you those wins now, I'm definitely looking to do that. Notorious Jay, shout out Jay, man, producing the track game. He got offered Brock Purdy and JT for Roshan and A-Rich. He was tempted, but the future looks too bright for Roshan and A-Rich. What are our thoughts, Jason? What do you got for Jay?
Yeah, I think I am holding on to A-Rich and Roshan, but that is definitely a very good and close offer. I couldn't fault you if you ended up taking that, but I still do view Brock Purdy as a little bit of a sell, and I'm viewing A-Rich as a buy. I do think that Roshan has some good prospects ahead. He's playing this week more than likely. Khalil Herbert, probably not. So we're going to see this week, really, what Roshan can bring for us. And as the Chicago Bears offense not only starts to look better, but continues to have some easy matchups, it could be pretty sweet for him. I am curious your thoughts.
Jay, run to your app, whether it be Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, don't worry about it, and smash. Wait a sec. Am I reading this right? He
has
getting
Anthony
30.
Richardson right now.
Yes,
so
that's okay. I was confused. Sorry, because I was reading. I was like, wait, attempted. Okay. Go get Purdy and JT right now. Go get Purdy and JT right now. Yeah. Purdy right now is top 11 in WARP. He's a top 12 quarterback on a fantastic offense. He isn't going anywhere. Even though I love the prospect of A-Rich. JT and Roshan are not even in the same planet, and I love Roshan. But the fact of the matter is, his draft capital only suggests that his job is safe this year. Next year, new regime change, third round pick, he's competing in 1 year from now. Even though I love Roshan. But the truth is, if you're not looking to cash in on literally week 6, where he might get his best opportunity of the whole season if he can get back on the field with this concussion. JT got the extension. He's going to be playing in this offense. The offensive line looks better. Go make sure you pull this trade now, because this is one of those that you go, thank God I did it. I was hesitant, but when Purdy finishes QB8, QB7, and JT is a potential league winner because he's still Jonathan Effin Taylor, you're going to be like, oh, thank God I made that trade. So, Jay, go do it. Jaleel in the chat, he has a huge decision. So this is his team. Read it, everyone. Yeah. Check it out. Should he give Josh Jacobs for Justin Jefferson?
Assuming this is redraft, looks like he has Kenneth Walker. He's got Roshan. I don't think I could do it, right? You're trading away your really only other starting running back if you trade away Josh Jacobs for Justin Jefferson. You've got to have a good option. I mean, there might be someone out there on the waiver wire that could help you, at least for the next couple weeks. I mean, it's getting Justin Jefferson, so I can't fault you. But, I mean, he is at least going to be out 4 weeks. Your team is only 3-2 right now. So, I mean, you're a little bit more – you've got to get some wins right now. And trading away Josh Jacobs is not going to help you do that. So, I honestly think I might have to hold. And it hurts me to say that.
Winner, chicken dinner. I'm with you, man.
The
3-2 record there at the end. I'm assuming that's a record. Jaleel you're in the thick of it, man. You got to win some games now. Jacobs and Ken Walker is going to be a formidable 1-2 punch for you over this stretch. So especially when you look at Seattle's upcoming schedule, it's really, really soft. No, I'm not making that trade in redraft. In Dynasty, obviously, you're making that trade. But I have a feeling it's redraft. So given that fact that it's redraft, I'm not. I am looking to see maybe you can get something for Kyler Murray, potentially. Maybe even get something from Musgrave, who has a decent game. But also when I look at these receivers, if he was healthy, oh man, he would look so good in this mix. But I think you'll be okay with Tyreek, Flowers, Tank Dell hopefully comes back a little bit. If you want to consolidate some of those tight ends, maybe you take a Sharp. Well, you got the thing, but maybe you take a Roshan on his potential spike in value this week. Take Tank Dell or Zay and get yourself a receiver that way. That's probably the route I'm taking.
I think I want to, Jaleel, it sounds like the Justin Jefferson owner has a very, very fair price on him, but trading Josh Jacobs does not fit what you need to do. So I would at least hit him with a counter, maybe lay out why you can't do it. Maybe even say like, dude, I would love to do this trade, but then you're leaving me with only one running back and I've got to get some wins. So I'm willing to give you some good value. Maybe you could throw him Zay Flowers plus, or see if he'll do T Higgins 1-for-1, as it looks like you've got some decent wide receivers. And it sounds like, based on how kind of this roster is, there's probably some good wide receivers out there on the waiver wire that can at least get you some points while you wait for Justin Jefferson to get back. But it really looks like you can't trade Josh Jacobs, unfortunately. But it does sound like you need to try to buy Justin Jefferson because he does seem cheap.
Good call. And Jacobs he's coming back into his own, back-to-back. Good finishes on the week. I think he's back. Caleb in a 12-team Superflex start 10. He doesn't want to sell, or he can't sell Cousins, Mostert, or Thielen to anyone. So should he group all of them for first or separate them for second and thirds? I'm going to run this by you, Jason. I want to get your thoughts on it. My approach sometimes to selling older players is not go to the obvious route. Don't go for first, seconds, and thirds. Don't do that because you're shortchanging yourself if you get seconds and thirds. Because these are difference makers in a season. And those difference makers can get you more than just a second or third. I like to target. This is what I like to do. I like to target not prospects, but maybe post-hype sleeper types. 27-year-olds that are appearing like they're out, but they might give you another year or two. Because what we forget when we dynasty is next year, your 29-year-old can still play football. Your 28-year-old can still be your number one XYZ player. So when you take these obvious old candidates and you try to push them for JSN, you try to push them for Kincaid, you try to buy low on obvious studs that we all loved in rookie drafts like just a couple months ago, the play could be a little too obvious for for the person in your league. So you can win by just getting slightly younger. Like an example for this, for me, a year ago was Mike Evans. Everyone thought he was dead in the water. I had some teams that had bad luck that weren't complete teardowns, and I was selling my, whatever's instead of for his thirds. I was getting Mike Evans, and of course he ended up, going off in the championship, which did me no good. But here we are in 2023. He's a absolute wide receiver stud, like he's always been. So sometimes you could take these old guys, get other older players that still have a year or two left, and they'll fit into your rebuild better than you would ever imagine. So, Jason, what are your thoughts on this on Caleb's problem?
I was just going to tell him to hold, but you laid out a fantastic thing, and I wish I had thought of it sooner. To be completely honest, I love the idea of taking Kirk Cousins and seeing if you could get Matthew Stafford in a second or a third, right? Or Russell Wilson plus, maybe Deshaun Watson plus if you believe in that. Taking Raheem Mostert, maybe getting Jeff Wilson plus if you believe in him, right? I mean, you can get another asset that is in a similar situation, similar age, but not quite as valuable, with something thrown in on top that you can then use to get those second and thirds that you were going to sell low for. And with Thielen, maybe I would take him and try 1-for-1. Maybe Jonathan Mingo, stay within the Panthers. He hasn't popped off quite yet. That might work depending on who has him. But yeah, I love that how you've laid it out. And I think that would be an excellent way for Caleb to try to extract some extra value, maybe continuously tier down. Maybe don't even stop there. Maybe go from Kirk Cousins to Matthew Stafford to Baker Mayfield and see how many picks you've gotten in between.
I love that. Yeah,
right?
like cascade.
Just keep going down, man, and see what you get thrown in. Build out the rest of your garbage, your treasure trove, and have some fun with it, man. Have some fun with it.
Love it. Alan is on Facebook. Shout out to you, Alan Lewis, on Facebook. He's got Achane and Richardson. He has an offer on the table for Olave and Gibbs. Now, this could go both ways, so let's look at it and let's kind of hit it rapid fire style. Do you want the Achane Richardson side or the Olave Gibbs side in redraft?
In redraft, I'll take. I think I would still take the. In redraft, I'll take Olave Gibbs.
Redraft for me, it's a slam dunk home run. Yeah. Olave Gibbs. Yeah. Dynasty, we're going to break this up into 2 questions here in 1 QB.
1 QB.
Dynasty.
Olave and Gibbs.
Me too. It's not even close again in 1 QB, but in Superflex Dynasty, Achane and Richardson or Olave and Gibbs?
Achane and Richardson in the Superflex.
I'm still going to Olave Gibbs. I'm going to Olave Gibbs across the board. And I know it's crazy. Because Richardson has showed
it's got. I mean, everything, like I wouldn't trade Richardson for Olave and Gibbs in Superflex.
But I loved Olave and Gibbs, and it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time until Gibbs shows us who he really is. Yeah. Chris Bork is in the chat. Shout out to you, Chris. I hope everyone stuck around to get their questions answered. I still see a bunch of people in there. We're going to get through all of these questions here in the overtime session. Would we trade Moss and Doxson for Kirk?
No. Christian Kirk, no. Kirk Cousins, no.
I'm 100% yes in redraft. In Dynasty, doesn't matter. It's either I'm assuming it's Christian Kirk. But in Superflex, if it's for Kirk Cousins, it's a smash yes. If it's I am taking Kirk Cousins, Christian Kirk, Kirk Cobains. I'm 100% taking the Kirk side here because Dotson. I don't know. We may have fallen for a little fool's gold with Jahan Dotson.
It's possible. It's definitely possible.
And Zach Moss is Zach Moss. I know he's been great. But holy cow, I mean, what are we expecting out of Zach Moss? So give me the Kirk side. Ruckus, we answered this question a little while ago, but I thought I had to bring this up because, you're talking to the OG, DJ Moore, Presidente of the Fan Club. Can we have a DJ Moore hype party, though? For real? Hell yeah, Ruckus, we absolutely can. I mean... 52 points and PPR scoring with bonuses. He was an absolute stud. He has shot himself all the way up to wide receiver 7, according to Warp. I mean, I'm just going to Jordan shrug it. I told you he's an absolute stud. It was never a doubt in my mind. It was the most obvious buy low candidate that there ever was after the first couple weeks. Justin Fields looks good, and it's a lot about DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore had 230 receiving yards, and Fields had 280-something passing yards. You're talking about a guy who dominated the game, and you're looking at a guy in DJ Moore who's had all the alpha wide receiver traits throughout his entire career, and now on this team. I love it. I like it a lot. Penguino on my team. 10 team PPR. Should he trade Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers for Olave?
No,
I don't think I would either. It's because to me, the gap between Zay Flowers and Chris Olave is not as big as I may have thought just a few months ago. But right now, the way he's shaping up to be, with targets galore. I don't think Olave is a big enough increase to this team for you to make this trade. And then Derrick Henry is going to have a big week. Derrick Henry is going to be valuable. But I'm looking at your team. You're freaking loaded. If you want to just make a trade to make things happen, go right ahead, Penguino. I mean, you're killing it with this roster. Holy cow. I'm looking at this here. Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, JT, Rashad White, Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry would be the guy that I sell out of this bunch. If you can get like Jalen Waddle over Olave, I might be a little more interested if I can get like a Stephon Diggs, a Keenan Allen, like truly buy at the tippity top Cooper Kupp. That's where I'm going to try to shop here. But I do like, I do like what I'm seeing here in your 10-team league. So good on you. Keep it up. Quinn, would you like Calvin Ridley or T. Higgins rest of the season? So let's just say that you have T. Higgins, you get Calvin Ridley offered to you in your inbox. You're taking it.
I think in redraft I might. In Dynasty, definitely not. Given its rest of season, I guess I've just answered that question.
Well, hey, sometimes your process answers your question in the middle of you going through it in your head. So it's perfectly safe. For me, I'm going Calvin Ridley. There's just something about the whole T. Higgins situation, the Bengals situation, that I just don't love. His big game came on 2 touchdowns. He's had uncharacteristic drops. He's in a contract year where Calvin Ridley, he's going to have his down weeks, but we're kind of locked into the role. We like the role, and he's going to have those spike weeks. He's had now 2 spike weeks out of the 5, so it's fairly reliable in my book. Kane Royce is in the chat. He's got a whole lot of players listed on his team, so you can read through that. But the trade here is St. Brown and Ramondre Stevenson for Kyron Williams and Justin Jefferson. We're going to do this in 2 different ways. Are you doing it in redraft or are you doing it in Dynasty?
I think I'm doing it both ways. I think I'm doing this both ways.
You're doing it both ways, Jason?
Yeah.
You're doing it both ways?
Yeah, I'm taking it.
You're doing it both ways?
Yeah, I wanted
see
to
how
read that.
See how that quote, that sentence changes if you want to put a different inflection in the way you say it?
So many sentences do that.
I know, right? It depends on how you emphasize the words and how it comes out, and all that stuff. I'm sure we could clip it and make some funny stuff out of it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm taking it both too.
Yeah,
I think I'm taking it both too. I think I'm doing it both ways. I think I'm doing it both ways. I think I'm doing it both ways too, because the way I look at this, Kyron Williams ain't going away. I hate Ramondre Stevenson rest of the season. Didn't like him coming into the season. And, is St. Brown the bill of health right now? I mean, it feels like every other week he's different injuries. He's missing practice time. Now he's missing games. We might look 4 weeks ahead. Justin Jefferson's back, and, maybe Amon-Ra misses 1 or 2 of these next 4 games, and you might as well go after Jay Jetta in Dynasty. Again, you can get Jefferson in Dynasty. You fucking get Justin Jefferson in Dynasty. Joe's in the chat. He's asking, should he trade Chase and Pittman for Bijan and Lamb, or DJ Moore so there's 2 different trades. DJ Moore for Swift. So for the second one, hell no, keep DJ Moore, baby. But are you trading Chase and Pittman for Bijan and Lamb? That is a block freaking buster.
No, sir. I am not trading Jamar Chase and Michael Pittman for Bijan Robinson and CeeDee Lamb. Incredibly close. Definitely incredibly close. Bijan Robinson is the truth. But Michael Pittman probably outscores CeeDee Lamb this year and potentially next year as well, as this Colts offense continues to grow and get their sea legs up from under them. And I've talked about Jamar Chase so many times in this show. I can't trade him. I just can't do it.
For me, if this was A.J. Brown and Pittman for the 2, I'm taking it. So it's razor thin. But yeah, I'm just keeping the Chase and Pittman side. Let's keep it going here. I just saw another one. Kyle Miller, does he trade Kyron and Zay Flowers for Diggs? Let's call it redraft.
Yeah, definitely. I might do that in Dynasty too, to be honest.
It's redraft, so definitely going Diggs here.
Yeah.
That is a great trade in redraft. Let's keep it going here. I think we had a super chat that I have to make sure that we do bring up. Here it is. Joshua Murphy, JT or Jacobs plus Jameson Williams for Pollard and Palmer.
No.
Joshua, don't do it, brother.
Yeah.
I would rather have Jacobs, and I don't know if I would rather. It's not a resounding Jacobs and JT over Pollard, but it's so close. And Jameson Williams, even though I don't really like him.
Yeah.
Josh Palmer, Trey Palmer, Carson Palmer. I'm still going with the JT or Jacobs side plus Jameson Williams. But I am okay with you moving on from Jameson. So Joshua, you can do it. You could do it. You
No!
can do it. You could do it. You could do it. But Jason may have. Can't. Ruckus says he can't get over my fire pole. It's a button up, sir. But thank you. It looks like a. I don't think that's a compliment, but it's absolutely hilarious. So shout out to you, John Webb. That was pretty good. That was pretty.
I
good.
love when like well thought out, like I don't compliments, phrasings like come out. I was watching like a comedian. They said that like Pete Davidson. It was like the roast of Pete Davidson. They just said his face looks vague, and it's just like when people like.
That's funny. I love it.
I just love when people come up with clever things, and I think Hip Magician is pretty clever. I get a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. G Hop is in the chat. Should he trade Waddle for Sam Laporta? He has commit, but his wide receivers are Lamb, Moore, Godwin, and Sky Moore. Holy cow!
I don't think so. It's right there where I feel like you have to do it, but I almost feel like out of respect, just do it, and then just hope that Jalen Waddle doesn't have a ceiling game. But I really do think that Jalen Waddle has ceiling games within him, and I really, really do think that this is a great buying period for Jalen Waddle, so it hurts me. But it's every time I've sent out an offer for Sam Laporta, it's been insta rejected, and I've been laughed at. I've been pointed at, and the entire class laughed at me. The teacher started laughing at me. It was just awful. So I if you can get him, you get him.
I don't know. There's something about. I mean, going into every matchup with Lamb, Moore, Godwin, and Waddle is such a squaw. But if you are in like a 2 wide receiver 1 flex, then I'm 1,000% doing it. But if you can start all 4 of those wide receivers every single week, I don't think I'm going to do it. Marquise Brown for Aaron Jones. He already has Smith, Chase, and James Conner just got hurt. Do you like this trade?
I don't hate it. I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
I don't like it. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown has been one of my biggest risers so far, 5 weeks in. Catching touchdowns 3 out of the last 5 weeks, or 3 out of that last 4 weeks, or 3 of the last 4 weeks, I believe. He's been a perennial 15-plus game guy. I like Hollywood Brown. I like him a lot this year. Curtis Samuel, a late second and a late fourth for Michael Pittman. Unsure if it is an overpay. No, man, this is a freaking dub. Dubs in the chat. Tyler. Dubs in the freaking chat. Good on you,
what
Mr. DeVale. I don't know. Duval. I think it's Duval. Tyler, shout out to you, my friend. Jeffrey, DK, or David Montgomery. He needs the wide receiver help, but his other running backs they don't shine confidence to me. Oh, yeah, so who'd you rather have, D-Mont here or DK?
I'm assuming it's Dynasty. I've got to go with DK, especially if you need the wide receiver help. In redraft, I think that I might have to take the David Montgomery side.
Yeah, I think I'm taking David Montgomery. I think I'm going Montgomery both ways. I'm doing it both ways. I'm doing it both ways.
Did you see Dan Campbell's quote about using David Montgomery in more than both ways?
Yeah, fair enough. Alex said he traded Dameon Pierce for Ramondre. Don't love it. I think both of these running backs kind of stink, to be honest. But I just think you went into an ascending offense and you just traded into a descending offense. Don't love it. Dylan, he just traded D-Hop for Mixon straight up. Give it a letter grade.
B.
I went B plus. I went B plus.
Yeah.
I went B plus because I think that both of them are getting kind of older over there, but in just the running back position, when you get into the home stretch, you need it. So give me Joe Mixon. Ooh, Doxson or Rashee Rice in Superflex Dynasty. That's a good one.
I'm not buying into Chiefs wide receivers. I'm not doing it. I think I'm taking Dotson here.
Give me Rashee Rice. He's been looking like the best receiver for Patrick Mahomes-led offense. Give me Rashee Rice. And we are going to end it here with Joey Donuts because he has a fantastic name. And we got to give him some advice before we say sayonara here on this beautiful Wednesday night. He has an offer. Mostert and McLaurin for Pacheco and Nico Collins. 1 point PPR redraft, and he's leading towards accepting.
No.
Give me Nico Collins and Pacheco by a wide margin. So I'm not always the best at reading these. So if you could get Pacheco and Collins, do it now. Do it now. Do it right now. And if you have Pacheco and Collins, do not do it. Keep Pacheco. Pacheco is starting tomorrow night against the Denver Broncos. He is poised to absolutely smash. So yeah. Keep Nico and Isaiah Pacheco. That's going to wrap up the Trade Gods overtime session. So glad you guys stuck around and hung out with us. We'll get you next time. Peace.